Hello to the chicas and the chicas. Today we are going to engage with a very popular opening theme in the French defense, which is the idea when black goes for a very early trade of the bad French bishop, whether it be b6, bishop a6, or the bishop d7, bishop b5 ideas. Today's game is going to cover the b6, bishop a6 idea, but as you will see, the strategy in general is quite similar. So about a week ago I played this game against a American international master. I don't know who they are, and he played this early b6, and this is one of those things that a lot of people, especially on club level, hate playing against, because what you observe here is that black follows a very basic, crystal clear, logical, easy to pursue strategy. They know they have a bad bishop, they want to trade it off. And it kind of dawns on you and it depresses players that A, I can't stop it, B, it's very cool because obviously that's a good bishop, bad bishop, mine is a good one, I don't want to trade. So there is a sense of loss associated with this idea when it gets carried out, and it very often puts people on the back foot. So what is the best way to handle this? First and foremost, you need to accept it that there is not a lot you can do about the trade and just roll with it. So do what you would normally do, which is develop. Now, the reason why I said develop and play c3 instead of knight f3, that was a bit of a oopsie daisy there, is because c3 fits into the theme of what we are doing, which is connecting the pawns, creating a strong pawn chain, but also it drops a cheeky tactic bomb on black, because bishop a6 now loses to bishop takes, knight takes, queen a4. Therefore, black is forced to play the rather ugly queen d7 first to deny the check, and only then go for bishop a6. Now this is our first little sense of victory. c3, definitely a very useful move in this structure. Queen d7, definitely very low priority, right? Like the ugliest move on the board. I'm of course fully aware of the fact that this happens a fair bit in the French, but one doesn't necessarily play this out of joy and pleasure. It's more of a I have to, so I do. Now we switch into development. Knight f3, bishop a6 comes, and in my opinion, by far the best you can do is to take. There is also an idea where you can go knight d2 and then you retake with the knight, rerouting the knight to g3, and then you start the kingside attack with h4. Also a fully valid concept and very well playable. But I was cooking something else. And actually, and I really don't say to blow my own trumpet, but I made up the whole Shimazoli during the game. Obviously the plan, the strategy was clear in my head. And that's what this is. I'm going to put it in a very simplistic term for you, so you can work with me on this one. Play for c4. That's it. This is my strategy from here on out. And that is a weird one, because first of all, I've played c3, so why c4 now? And in general, we don't play c4 in the French, so why do you want to do that? Well, the idea here is that if I don't engage in any kind of pawn break in the next, let's say, 5 to 10 moves, and I allow black to do the following things. I'm just doing lemon with white now, yeah? So black gets to do this, then their strategy is going to succeed, and we are going to be clearly worse off. This is black's absolute ultimate dream scenario. And so I need to disrupt this from happening one way or another. And ideally there are two things that really go for me here as white. I have more space and I have got better development. Both of these things very strongly suggest that we need to try to blast the position open. Opening position by definition means disappearance of pawns, as I have said it myriads of times on this channel. Whether it's trade or sack, it doesn't matter. Pawns go, positions open. That's it. And so, my plan now, the fastest way to create tension between central pawns is c4. f4, f5 is way too slow. I need to get the knight out of the way, then f4, then f5, not gonna make it. Too slow. So I played queen e2, castle, sorry. Freudian slip there, although I did play queen e2 as well. Not best, by the way. Queen e2 perhaps was already better. And after c5, I set about my business and I played queen e2. And, in fact, I was very, very, very happy to receive c5 because there is friction between the pawns. That's what I want. Now, I don't want to take it yet, but the fact that the possibility is on is exciting. And now my opponent immediately aired with knight b8, instantly granting me a much better position. I immediately grabbed the opportunity, I hope. No, I didn't. I was a bit of a potato. I played rook d1, kind of prepping the move that is good to go. But at the same time, this makes c4 even more fearsome. And c4 is not stoppable. So in a way, you could argue that, coach, you are preaching, don't prepare what's good to go. Not quite the case here, because after this, I can always take on c4. I can play c4 with more gusto, yada, yada, yada. And c4 here is very bad on account of b3. And now if they take, I take back. And again, c4 is unstoppable. Understand that b5 is not playable on account of a4. And the pawn chain has been undermined. Black has no a6 because takes and tada, pin. And the game is over. So actually rook d1 in my opinion is fine, but a touch more accurate would have been the instant c4. So rook d1 played, knight c6 and c4. And that's it. This is what you want. Because now black is being pestered, bothered, not left to his own devices. They can't just do their French stuff in peace, complete development. Still three more moves. Before even castling. 3 moves here is an eternity. In that time, I will take, knight c3, take on c5, win d5, game over. And from here on out, the more captures, the better it is. They took on d4, but I already felt that there was no way that this game can go sideways for me. No chance. Like, I was very, very optimistic already. At this point. One interesting side variation is knight e7, trying to get the knight into d5. But of course, I'm not interested in necessarily taking immediately. I can build. And they can't. Because for them, building, in this case, means moving the knight, facilitating the bishop development. But the knight is glued to e7, since it has to cover d5. Takes is not possible on account of take. And take on d4, once again, just brings about more pain. Black is in trouble. So they took on d4, and I took on d5. And lo and behold, this looks nothing like a French. This looks like an opening that went really, really poorly for black, irrespective of opening context. We managed to blast the position open. The black king is caught with its pens down in the middle. And now it's free reign for the white attackers. Queen d7. And here, unfortunately, I got carried away a little bit. But I regret none of the moves that I played. The engine wants here bishop e3 with a beautiful tactical sequence. Based on, doesn't matter which first, I believe. Bishop, knight, knight, bishop, knight b5. That's it. And now we are going to take this, and we are also going to be able to give the check on d6. So, best of both worlds. I instead went with knight b5 right away, which was less accurate, because now black can kick out the b5 knight, so I don't have the check. I do pick up the pawn, and this is easily north of +1 territory, but there is still work to be done here. That was inaccurate. Luckily, my opponent missed this and played bishop c5. And here again, I played a move that the engine disapproves of. I would play it in a heartbeat again any day of the week. Any day of the week. And that move was b4. Because I felt like that was the move. By the way, second best for the record. Yet it counts as a miss. That was in the spirit of the position. Here, you absolutely have to, in my opinion, channel your inner Morphy. My opponent desperately wants completing development, so I'm playing moves that keep on distracting, pestering them, wasting more tempi on moves that are not developing. And now, because I removed one of the defenders from d4, I captured it. And here comes a sequence that allowed me, by the way, to play 4 brilliancies, no less. 4 brilliancies. I think that's a record in my blitz playing career. Starting off, kicking off proceedings with knight f5. A really, really lovely idea that is based on the beautiful geometry of the various knight jumps available to white. In particular, ef rook takes d5 is what we need to be aware of. The engine disapproves of capture and instead recommends king f8. Good luck playing chess like that, but to be fair, that is the best move. ef was played. Of course, I took on d5. Queen e7, and once again channeling the inner Morphy, channeling the punch after punch after punch. Here comes bishop g5. Like almost every move I played in this game that was after c4 was some kind of a pressure move, some kind of disturbance that disallowed black to develop. And again, queen takes is not playable on account of the check. f6 was forced. Bishop f4 now. And here I dropped the ball a little bit, ever so slightly, for not playing knight c7. In fact, here I played a few inaccuracies. I went with rook d1. Inaccuracy. Let's call it brilliance. But after gf here, unfortunately, I kind of let the most obvious win slip away from me. All I needed to do here was e6 followed by rook d7, queen h5, and it's over. It really well and truly is over. The big difference between what I did versus this scenario, that here after king f8, rook d7, queen e8, I can just go in for the kill with knight c7 and that's it. Game is over. In the game, unfortunately, I went for the check first. And the reason why I did this is because I was really, really hoping to sell this check, check, check here, check, check scenario, which is very, very pretty, but not forced. Because there is king f8. And now, if you compare the previous scenario to this one, here after queen e8, now my queen is hanging, so I don't have time for knight c7. And after queen f3, we are still winning, but now it would have been a fair bit of work still to do. Thankfully, my opponent played instead queen e6, allowing me knight c7, and just a gentle reminder that we are not playing knight c7 to win the rook. We're playing it to pave the way for e6, announcing Matutsky. Of course, check is possible, but after king h1, now the mate on f7 is not stoppable. So, let's give this one a quick summary. Your opponent tries to trade the bad French bishop. You can do two things. One of them is the stock standard operation, which is probably best introduced with the knight maneuver. You bring the knight around here, kind of stopping knight f5, then h4, h5. Often the rook lift even comes into the fray, and you are playing heavy, heavy kingside focus, kingside attack. Plan B, what I did, which I consider to be easier and strategically purer, is castles and go for c4. Go for c4 like your life depended on it. By the way, knight c7 was the better move here. And this actually is something I wanted to show you. I'm glad that I did a summary. So here the idea, of course, is that if I play c4, it's less effective because now the knight is already on it. So black is less threatened. Here, a different, somewhat unusual French motif comes into the play, and that is that we take on c5. The idea being that after bc, now playing c4 is going to again trigger a very different scenario where all of a sudden black went on about trading of their bad bishop, and due to the structural change, now we turn this into a bad bishop, shooting into the back of this pawn. That is also on white. We are going to carry out the Nimzovich-esque blockade. I don't know why I'm getting a question mark there. 92, 94 first perhaps is better. And I have access to e4. They don't have access to d5. I'm going to blockade the other pawn on d3. White is really, really looking great. Plan B is a very cheeky bishop e3, which denies knight e7 by tagging the pawn on c5. And all of a sudden, black is struggling for developing moves. And if c4, then b3. Remember, the goal is to open up, open up, open up, because they have back rank fast. And in the French, that's kind of okay, because the position is closed. So the policy is open up, open up, open up. And that's what we do here too. So against knight c7, you take c5. If the knight goes elsewhere and allows c4, you go c4 and you blast it open. And everything else after that is no longer French. It's now chess, and you just go after them like bang, bang, bang. And yeah, just play a very, very nice open position with superior development, safer king. Victory should be yours. I hope you folks liked it. Please do not forget to leave a comment, smash the like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so. And I will see you in the next video. Thanks for watching. Bye.